Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session. Looks very exciting to me. And yeah, good evening, Mohammed, Jaweed, and yeah, I'm great. I'm good. And how are you doing? Oh, Pio, you're there. Good evening. Vinit, oh, good. Saadatu, you made it today. You were missing for a couple of sessions. Yeah, Pio, I'm good. I'm okay. That's okay, Saadatu. It happens. Some people coming and then lots of different commitments. That's fine. Okay, we had an assignment on Saturday yesterday. I wasn't able to respond to everybody's um, suggestion. I had to go through many of them. I responded to some, but I didn't respond to everybody. So those who didn't get a response, I'll do that tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And we talked about maternity leave, and some of the emails I received, they were very, very great. I really appreciate the ideas and the way you presented the whole thing. Um, oh, Pio, you're supposed to send that to my personal direct email, not personal anyway. That's jude@imts.com. So all assignments should go to that. PhD, it's a different email which is only for PhD students. So, but this one is for the whole of IMTs that is related to academic affairs under my supervision. So I'll be looking at your assignments through this email ID only. Today we're going to talk about something interesting. It's a serious problem. It occurs almost everywhere. The issue of human exploitation. And so many companies, so many managers, they are either directly participating or they're indirectly participating. We're going to look at ethics, but we're not going to talk about ethics here because there are different types of ethics. I'm going to tell you the different types of professional ethics and the way people act very unprofessional, again, in a very disguised way. But today I'd like us to look at human exploitation. The question is it possible to completely eliminate human exploitation? This is a very vast topic. It's something very vast. So I decided to narrow it down a little bit to migrant workers. Exploitation happens in so many different ways and in different situations, but I wanted us to look at it from migrant workers' point of view. Of course, exploitation is even in our homes and in schools and communities, whether they are social or they are religious. So there's exploitation in all this. Where there is human, there is a tendency of exploitation. But I'd like somebody to first of all define human exploitation before we get into looking at how we can eliminate it, whether it's possible or not. Can somebody just give us a little bit a definition of what human exploitation is, so we're all on the same frequency? I'm going to take my video out so we can concentrate on text. There you go. Samo, good. Okay, I'm waiting to get your definition. You can just post it. Let's make it a little bit snappy. Okay, Rahul says use of someone or something in an unjust or cruel manner. Okay, that's what Rahul says. Rezi says human trafficking. Okay. Sadatu says taking advantage of human beings for one's personal interests. Okay. You see, it's important. I thought about it. I said we should define human exploitation first. So we're all talking about the same thing. So let's look at what other people have to say about it. Sunil Francis says strong ruling over weak. So the strong, the rule over the weak. Okay? They're coming. And George, hey George, you say the act of using something for any purpose. You use something for any purpose. Okay? And Pio say it's usage of a human being's capacities without any ethics or against his will. Okay? Peter says treating humans as just as an object. Okay? Get them coming. I see it very interesting from the very definition. Shabazz, you said yes. Are you supporting somebody's definition? Okay, Pio say it is happening because of poor living conditions. Okay, yeah, we're definitely going to look at the cause of human exploitation. I think there are lots of other people. Asia, I didn't hear from you. I'm sure you have a lot of beautiful ideas to put forward. And Kashan, okay, Vinit says basic fundamentals of human exploitations are act, means, purpose. Okay? Again, you have to expand on those three parameters. Samu says someone mistreating another person. Someone mistreating someone, that's okay. Now, I think it's important that we put in a little bit of, or we do a little bit of work before every class. Mohammed Riyad said, people use others to get work done. People use others to get work done. Yeah, this can be positive and it can be negative as well, because management is getting work done through others. And again, it can also be exploitatory, depending on the way you get the work done through the others. And George says human exploitation is the unethical, selfish use of human beings for the satisfaction of personal desire and or profitable advantage. Okay? Yeah, Rafiq. I'm good. You're welcome. Okay. I got a definition for human exploitation, but I'm not going to put it on the board straight away. I'm going to leave it open because we have to be able to get this information as well. Okay, Rafiq, you're welcome. Okay, now the question is, is it possible to completely eliminate human exploitation? But before we answer this question, I'd like us to first of all look at the causes of human exploitation. I believe every one of us have had an experience of human exploitation. I have a video here. I don't know, can everybody have a link to this video? Okay, Rafi. Yeah, because I tried to make the video public. I hope everybody was able to take a look at it. Now, this is a work from Al Jazeera. I'm not, again, let me emphasize, any video or material we use in our sessions is not for publicity. It is solely for educational purpose. So I was trying to get a good material that we can use to relate what we're discussing, and I found this. There are lots of other videos very interesting, but I found this very much preferable because there are lots of people involved in it, and it's work that was done over a long period of time. Okay, Sada 2 again, the problem with the iPad. I don't know how it's going to work, but I think I've made it public. Everybody can lay hands on the video, and I'm sure that at the end of the class, we should be able to understand exactly what is happening. Now, the intention of this session is that we're all, some of us are managers, most of us aspire to become managers. Again, there is a saying, I can't remember who said it, but I can quote it. He who doesn't know history, history will help history to repeat itself. So if we don't know history, we only help history to repeat itself. So we are learning from what is happening so we don't repeat the same things. That's just it. Now, do you think, now what are some of the causes of human exploitation? Yeah, let's try to figure out how to get the material. I already posted it there, so let's try to figure out, and we can use different tools. We can use a laptop, we can use a desktop, and figure out how to get it. It's very important and educational. So what are the causes of human exploitation? Razor says causes of human exploitation are some extent financial status, community status, okay? Pio says the distance between the rich and the poor. Okay, status is usually a selfish means to an end. Okay. Samu says because of poverty, or someone like someone likes more profit because of poverty, and then people just want to make money. And Vince says gender inequality and violence against women. Well, interesting things are coming up. And lack of opportunity and employment, okay. George says lack of awareness, okay. Vince says lack of access, I think, to education, okay. Okay, we are going to watch this clip, this video, the first 10 minutes. No, not up to 10, 5 minutes, and pause and see what's happening. Are we ready? Since we all, can everybody see my screen? Can we see the video? Okay, so I'm going to play the video now. Okay, that's great. So let me go to the video. I don't know what's okay. Play.
Hello and welcome to People in Power. I'm Barbara Sarah. Coming up on today's program, the human trade. Bangladesh has always been one of the world's poorest countries, with around 40% of its population living below the poverty line. But the current global recession is making matters worse, especially for families reliant on money sent home by relatives who'd gone to work abroad. Now, as those overseas jobs have begun to disappear, many migrant workers have become more desperate, paying large fees to agents who promise work permits and employment in places such as Singapore and Malaysia. Yet, too often, the work fails to materialize and the wages are left unpaid. Lin Lee and James Leon have been investigating a trade that's become big business for some, but leaves others in despair.
It starts with a call for help. A plea that leads us to an industrial estate in Singapore. We're here to meet a group of Bangladeshi migrant workers. Desperate men trying to make sense of their strange plight. Delawar Hussain paid $6,000 to secure a job in Singapore with a company called Hestia Marine. But so far, there's been little work.
তারপর তো পর্যন্ত 8 মাস পরে রয়েছি 27 দিন পর্যন্ত কাজ করছি এবং কোম্পানি যে কাজ দিবে কোনো ভাব দেখতেছি না যে কোম্পানি যদি কোনো জব নেয় যে আমাদেরকে নিয়ে কাজ দিবে
Despite the lack of work, more men were brought in by Hestia's bosses under a different company, Nessie Marine. Probably Biswas arrived just 23 days ago. He paid his agent $6,000 to work in Singapore.
ট্রেনিং কাজ শেষ করেছে এখানে আমাদের কাজ দিয়ে বলছিল এবং এখানে আমাদের কোনো কাজ নাই আমরা বসে আছি
Why would an employer bring migrant workers into Singapore when there are no jobs for them? And why did these men have to pay so much money? Our search for answers leads us into the murky world of Bangladesh's manpower trade. An outsourcing business that generates millions of dollars for some, but leaves others broken and destitute.
I think there is a problem with the audio, is it? Okay, I don't know. I'm not very good at IT. Just a second. Let me give you a link. Just bear with me for a bit. I'm going to give you a link to that particular clip, so you can have a proper look at it. Okay, I'm going to post the link. That's the link. You can take a look at it. Now, from the first few minutes we've watched the video, what do you think is the major cause of human trafficking? Okay, Prabha says poverty. Rezi says lack of awareness. Okay. Now, when you say poverty, what do you mean? Try to be a little bit explicit. And when you say lack of awareness, what do you mean? Because you will definitely be a manager somewhere and these things will happen. But again, it's important we talk about it so it doesn't happen through us. We're not part of it. So we said poverty, lack of awareness. Yes, Samo says poverty. That's very true. Lack of poor living condition and human greed. Okay, that's Pio. And Francis says lack of enough manpower to do the job. Rafik says there is some kind of poverty area from the Bangladesh. Okay. And Rahul says lack of good jobs in their country. Very good. These employees are not aware about the law of labor and job situations and opportunities. That's very true. Now, with just a few minutes of the video, do you think it is possible to completely eliminate human exploitation, especially among migrant workers? Then you say no. Why do you say no? What makes it difficult? What makes it impossible to completely eliminate it? Pio says this can be eradicated only by long-term vision of the rules supported by strong laws. Okay, Samuel says only poor persons cannot human trafficking, so some is blinded them like power. I didn't copy that very well. So you're trying to say only the poor people are vulnerable to human trafficking. Is that correct? Pio says not only that. So what else do you have, Pio? You can hear two voices. Okay, Samu says not only the poor, there is also who wants to make more money. Okay? Now, how are these people victims, those who want to make more money? Are they victims of human trafficking or exploitation? Prabhu says Bangladesh has lots of corruption since 3 decades. No development at all. Okay, that should be a cause of human exploitation. Now, who is to blame? Who do you think is responsible for this? The government? Okay, Pio says, in my organization, some way or other, human exploitation is happening for many reasons. What are some of those reasons, Pio? Samuel says, government and NGO are to blame. So what do you think the government should do? And what do you think the NGOs should do? Rezi says, this is human trafficking agencies. They take money from these employees and just give and leave them without job security. Okay, I get the gist. Rahul says human trafficking is a syndicate. I think lots of chats are coming in now. Even some government officials are involved. Okay, that's an allegation. Rafiq says, everywhere going, there is corruption everywhere. They cheat from recruiters, okay? Lack of education opportunities, that has been, so I have to say, impose harsh punishment for the crime, okay? Prabha says, more population. Samuel says, still government and NGO are working together in a short-term perspective. So you think they should work in a long term, or address the situation on a long-term basis. And Peter says, lack of proper labor laws and their high increments. Now, lots of, you're bringing in lots of different ideas that I didn't even look at it. I really appreciate that. But now the question I want to ask is, now it's very easy for us to point fingers at other people. Let us come back to ourselves. What do you think should be done? What do you think can be done to reduce human trafficking? You talked about laws imposing, like Sadat said, punishment. What kind of punishment? Someone talked about strict laws. Now, how should this happen? Do you think if you have strict laws, human trafficking will stop? First of all, let's go back to the cause of human trafficking. Some of you talked about poverty. Some of you talked about unawareness, no educational opportunities. Now, do you think we can address human exploitation by imposing stringent laws and punishing those who are involved in it? Saratu says the citizens should be vigilant and report all suspicious acts. Okay? Pio says not enough. Okay, the laws and the punishment is not enough. And Samuel says, provide jobs to those who are those in poverty and give them education. Okay, get the point? Pio says, living conditions should improve. And Vince says, prevent crime. Now, you realize that we're giving these points from all different angles. And again, this is not really addressing it. We're just pointing the problem. We're not looking at the solution. He says the gap between rich and poor should be small as possible. But how do you do this? Peter says, change your attitudes to live and let live. Well, Peter, that sounds, it has two faces. That particular point has two faces. Now, Francis says we change the law. Now, I'm very, very happy that we've all arrived at this particular point, because I was expecting this, and actually you've given it to me. So many people are involved, and they're talking. Let's see what Vince is saying. There should be an enforcement from government, and the country law should support, okay? And Pio says proper distribution of resources to every human being. That's okay? And Samo says government should make strict law against human trafficking and give them awareness. Now, let's look at it from this angle. Where do these people come from? Those who are more vulnerable to human trafficking. We talked about, we've seen a situation in Bangladesh. Now, if you watch the same video, it will move over to India. And that particular video will connect to Dubai and other countries in the Middle East and Asia as well. Now, when we go back to the source, why these things happen. In Bangladesh, for example, we just watched it a couple of minutes ago. There are no jobs. The people are very poor. And then these people, they still borrow money to pay to these recruitment agencies to give them jobs, because these people promise them jobs. Peter says overpopulation. Okay? Now, how do you think you can stop human exploitation when the people are living in this kind of situation? Do you think it's going to be easy to tell people back, some people back in Africa, some people in India, some people in Bangladesh and other countries? Is it easy for them to survive where they are? Phil says, in a fine morning, this can never be changed. So you're saying human exploitation will never change, especially when it comes to migrant workers. Again, I have specified the kind of human trafficking I'm talking about. Human exploitation, migrant workers. So this is my interest, migrant workers. Okay, now most of us have talked about the government to blame, NGOs to blame. Let's see what Samo says before I come in. In the video, okay, Samo has watched the video, that's very good. In the video, there are lots of people who are jobless. They have been to Singapore and there is no job for them, and the agencies does not provide any job. So they were deceived by the agency that they were going to have jobs in Singapore, but at the end of the day, there was no job for them and the agency was nowhere to be found. Okay, Rahul says, donate funds to needed items in such countries. Okay, so you're talking about help aid. And Rafik says, they are talking about the illegal workers. Not only illegal workers, even legal migrant workers, some of them are still exploited in many countries. They have all their papers, but yet they are still exploited. Anyway, how many people have the time to watch the video? Okay, Pio says no human is born as a migrant. It is the living condition that force people to do that. Okay, now that's very interesting, Theo. You're looking at the cause. Now, the problem most of the time is not in the country in question where the migrant workers come from. The problem is the situation in their country pushes them out, makes them more vulnerable, and they are being exploited by other people, companies and recruitment agencies that profit, promise them jobs, promise them better life, and then at the end of the day, some of them even go on to borrow money to secure a job. But what they realize is that there is no job, or even if they do have a job, the pay package is not as promised from the beginning. Now, how do you think we can stop this? I haven't still had a solution. I haven't heard the solution to the problem. We've talked so many things, but I haven't heard a solution. Well, it cannot, probably, we might not completely eliminate it, but there is a way to improve it. I'm still waiting for the person who is going to tell me that. Vince says labor law has to be very strict and government should support it. That's very true. Samu says migrant workers bring them and they promise to provide jobs, but at the end of they do not have and provide any job. That is why the problem, that is where the problem comes from, okay? And Pio says Gandhi once said there is enough for everyone in this world, but not for human greed. Okay, that's true. Sadatu is talking about public awareness. Okay, that's very true. Most of you talked about public awareness. I really, really agree with that. That's very true. George says educating intended migrant workers about labor laws and workplace rights in their own and foreign countries. And Razor says embassies should support to aware the law of concerned countries. Okay, Vince says knowledge awareness campaign so that individuals are aware of where they can go and approach in such cases. Now, let's take an example. Those who are in India and those, wherever you are at the moment attending this session, look at the situation where you are. Are there many instances of human exploitation where you are? Whether you're in India or you're in Qatar or wherever you are, do you see human exploitation around you? Let's see, Sada to say it. Have a topic if possible in schools so kids can be aware too. That's good. And Pio says one more reason is the corruption of the rulers and the resources are always with the same people. Okay? Francis says everywhere, even at home. Yeah, that's true. That is why in the question, in the debate, I specified migrant workers, because human exploitation happens everywhere. At home, in our different communities, in our groups, and there is human exploitation. We cannot discuss it exhaustively. But I'm trying to talk, let's focus on migrant workers. Wherever you are, Francis, have you seen instances of human exploitation around you? And what are some of these? How do you get to know about it? Let's see what Rezi says. Recently, in UAE, Philippines, embassy demand 1 day off and minimum 1,500 dirham salary for Philippine maid. Okay, so I have to say pro bono service by lawyers. This is because so people want to report their cases but don't have the resources to follow up. Okay, and Pio said it happens everywhere in the world. That's very, very true, Pio. It's very true. It happens everywhere in the world. But have you seen any situation, any instance of human exploitation wherever you are? Peter says ministries and embassies of respective countries to be approachable easily, and there should not be restrictions or hassles to approach embassies. Okay, for people to report things, okay, that's fine. Okay, someone said, yes, there is. Some companies does not pay salary in time. They keep people in very congested area, 10 to 15 people in one room. Okay, that is horrible condition anyway. That's very true. Okay, Francis says, I have seen labor supply agencies paying less to their hired employees and taking large amount from companies. That is true. That is pure, I think it's pure, I don't know. You talked about greed. That is actually greed. And that is true. That is part of human exploitation. Maybe the salary from the company is to an employee is about, say, 10,000 or 5,000. And then the recruitment agents, they give maybe 1,000 to the employee. That's really human exploitation. That's a good example. Pio says, for example, while employing someone, why specify certain nationalities as priority instead of quality and experience? Well, that should be maybe racism. I don't know. Okay. Now, POC, and even the salary is different. Well, that's true. Now, we can talk on and on and on and on. I want us to use the last 15 minutes to look for possible solution. I'm very, very happy with everybody's participation. I realize that we all have experience with all. We agree that these things are happening because the most important thing is acknowledging there is a problem. Then we can look for a solution. It is not enough to criticize. It is not enough to point at the errors. But it is even more important to contribute to the solution. Let's hear what Peter says. I've observed that where agents get free visa, tickets, and other facilities, but these benefits are not made available to laborers. That's probably true. Is your observation, then that should be true. And Pio says, because we do face it in our life every day. I know that should be an ordeal. Rahul says, most of the people have problem understanding language. They get exploited. Okay? So communication is also one of the reasons. That's a good point. Nobody talked about that. Rafiki says true. Pio says the immediate solution is awareness to the public. Okay? Peter, you agree with it? That's public awareness. And Muhammad says we need to educate these people why they travel off to different countries. That's part of the solution. And Pio emphasizes that governments should do a lot of checking. And Francis says each country should have a strict rule on hiring employees. Now, some jobs, people consider them as mean, you know. How do you do the mean job? Like cleaning public spaces, cleaning bathrooms, cleaning the street. How do you handle this kind of situations? Peter says people innocent also used for exploitation in some cases. Yeah, people's innocence are used against them. That's true. Not only the labor law, but also public awareness should be, and government should check all the companies. Pio says it's everyone's duty. Now part of the solution is coming. Good, Pio. We've talked about public awareness, we've talked about education, we've talked about government's contribution to it. Now we are talking everyone's duty. I was expecting someone to say that. You did. Lack of self-employment, and Rafik says everywhere government fellows are doing nothing, simply sitting and earning money. Well, we're not judging what people are doing, but we're trying to look at how to address human exploitation. Make a newspaper available everywhere. Okay, that's for the education and sensitization purpose. We have some debt recovery companies, agencies which are helpful. Okay, so there are debt recovery companies and agencies which can help. That's true. And Samuel says everyone should take part to solve this problem. That's very true. It supports what Pio says. Now, I think we have less than 15 minutes. I wanted to come in and try to change the course. Anyway, Pio says the important thing is we need to consider others as human beings and all are equal. That is a very valid point. That's very good. Saratu says setting up NGOs and vigilance in people. Rahul says each person or group should be given a personal lawyer. Well, that's possible, but it looks very expensive, don't you think so? And Vin says increase awareness in the private sector companies as well. Okay? Okay, that's good. Now, I'm going to ask you a very simple and straightforward question. If you are a manager, how much do you think should be minimum wage? We're going to look at it from different countries. You can give the amount in dollars. You can give it in dirham. In rupees, I don't really know the value that much. I think 1 rupee should be about, and 1 dirham should be about 17 rupees. Is it correct? Travis says the minimum wage should be 5,000 dirham. Okay, so whatever you're doing, it's not important. Whatever job you do, the minimum wage should be 5,000 dirham. Okay? The status just says that depends on the market. and location. Okay, what are you trying to say? That depends on the cost of living. Is that right? Yeah, that's it. Cost of living. How much? So in the UAE, maybe let's just take an example of 5,000 dirham. In India, maybe 5,000 dirham is too much for minimum wage. Okay, so how much do you think should be minimum wage in India? Okay, many people say 15,000 rupees a month should be minimum wage. But how much do you think most people earn in India? I mean, those who are doing the mean job, those who are earning less. Do you think there are people who earn less than 15,000 rupees a month? How much? ₹4,000. And now, let's try to look at it. Now we are moving towards the solution. I don't know if most of you can understand the trend at which we are going or where we are going. We are going to the solution, but again, we are going through it in a very intelligent way. How much do you think is the minimum to be able to survive in India? And how much do you think is the minimum for someone to be able to survive in, say, Bangladesh or in the United Arab Emirates? How much do you think should be the minimum for somebody to survive? Saturday says $112. Where? In UAE or? Well, I think lots of people are engaging now, and the texts, they're coming so fast that I can't even keep track of it. Okay, I think what we're going to do, part of the solution to human exploitation is because people earn very less, that is not even enough for them to cope with their daily needs. Now, these are some of the situations that makes them vulnerable because they want to survive, because they have lots of responsibility. Maybe they have a family. And if someone is earning 4,000 rupees, do you think the person can survive? Okay, it depends on the city. In the village, they can survive, and in the city, they cannot survive. Now, do you realize where the problem starts? The problem starts when in our own countries, our governments fail to maintain a minimum wage that is able to help a person to survive. Now, when people are faced with this kind of difficult situation, they are forced to make very, very radical decisions. And most of these decisions land them in the hands of these recruitment agencies who promise them better jobs, better salary. And that is how the human exploitation begins. So the problem, like someone said, we're all involved in it. Back in our home, countries, our government should do something to improve the economy. That is where the problem starts. People find life very difficult. There are no jobs. Life is very hard. Now, these kind of people are very, very vulnerable. Most of them are very vulnerable. So they can easily be exploited by people who promise them they're going to travel abroad. They're going to give them better jobs and better salaries. And then these people, with a difficult life, they borrow some more money to pay to secure these jobs. And at the end of the day, they find themselves in the hands of a company or a manager and a situation that is horrible. They cannot even make enough salary to pay back their debts. They cannot even survive very well. And what do you think is going to happen? There are two things, because I tried to talk to a few people, and the question they asked me, Mr. Jude, how do you expect me to go back? I have a debt to pay. I borrowed money to come to the UAE. Now, my salary is 800 dirham. The other said his salary was 1,000 dirham. Now, how do I survive? How do I take care of my family? How do I pay the debt back home? I cannot go back because the people I borrowed money from, they're going to hold me. So you see where the problem is. These people, some of them are ready to accept difficult situations just because back at home things are very difficult. Of course, there are many reasons, and I don't want to go into some details, but we are all responsible. We are all responsible. It is not just the government. It is not just the NGOs. We are responsible as managers. When we pay somebody 800 dirham, how do you expect that person to survive? Like someone said, we are all, I don't know, I can't remember who said it, we are all involved in this fight. Now, the United Nations is doing also a good job to sensitize people against human trafficking and human exploitation. And I really advise we take a look at it. It's happening everywhere around us. And it is our responsibility as educated people, people who have the opportunity to discuss, have this kind of conversation, share ideas to help some of these people who are more vulnerable. Let's not only point fingers at the government or NGOs. We are responsible. So I'd like, again, the assignment I'm going to leave today is that let us come up with a plan, a short-term and long-term plan that can help us reduce the rate of human exploitation and human trafficking. This time I hope everybody is going to send it in because none of us is happy with human exploitation. So please, everybody should try to do something, come up with a plan, a short-term and long-term plan, how we can address the issue of human exploitation. So I look forward to, I hope the class was an eye-opener. I hope the class was useful. Yeah, Sarah, that's right, like domestic house help. That's very true. So I hope the class was useful, and I hope that this is going to help us to be able to be better managers and not exploit other people like others are already doing. Let's be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Thank you and have a wonderful day.